Hello and welcome to this comprehensive DDD guide. This is Taro and today I am going to showcase combos, deck theory, optional deck choices that you could play, the core of the deck, and I'm going to go over deck lists. So this is not going to be just a combo video. And I'm going to try and cover as much as I can in one video because I could literally do multiple videos and I'm not going to be able to cover everything because there's literally too many combos, too many variations to it, and no DD list looks the same. Every list has different decks. The core might, look the same, but people have different takes on the deck and different playstyles. So I hope that by the time you're done watching this video, you're gonna get a clear idea on what you're investing in Master Duel, because this is not a deck that you should invest in just because it's the new thing. This is a deck that you need a lot of info on. So I'm gonna try and provide that. So let's get into it. So I'm gonna go over the deck core now. This is post Alfred or in TCG post Burst Protocol. Keep in mind that there's a lot of debate between players on how the deck should look like, and in my opinion this is the bare minimum of what you should need in the main deck with less bricks as possible. Now the reason why I bring this up is because some like to differentiate on how they choose their ratios. For example, some like to play this at 2, some like to play Gryphon at 2 or even 1. Some don't even like to play Count Surveyor. In my playstyle, or how I play the deck personally, I choose to play something like orthros. And that's gonna bring me to my next point. Why did I not include orthros in the core? Because you've seen me play this card a lot if you watch my videos. The reason why I did not put this in the core is because not everybody plays this. I personally play it for 2 reasons. First, this is a searchable back row removal. You would need this against stun and back row, and against decks like Odeon and Dracotel, and those two are very popular right now. Against Dracotel, you can force their back row with this, so it can actually force interaction. The second reason is because this is a level 4 tuner, so this is your secondary tuner, and you cannot always rely on Land Soldier to be the tuner because sometimes this is gonna get banished by a Bestial or a DT Crow, and when that happens, it's not the end of the world because you can recycle it with Alfred, but you're probably gonna miss out on ending on Siegfried. So you're gonna end on a half board, which is still respectable, but I personally like to end on Siegfried, or I try as much as I can to end on the full board. So I would like to have a secondary tuner so I don't need to worry about that. I always liked Orthros. I am always a believer of this card. There's a lot of people who say that you should not play this card. And again, at the end of the day, it boils down to preference and how you go about building the deck. So this is the core before Alfred, and as you can see, you have quite a few flex spots in the extra deck. And I mentioned this because there are lists that like to main Super Poly as a board breaker. So it's either that you choose something like Dark World No More in the main or Super Poly. Now, there are people that like Super Poly because this is good into Yummy and it's decent against Dracotel. It's also decent against K9. So you could do something like this, and the targets for the Super Poly would be Mud Dragon and Garura. So the extra deck would be 12 with 2 flex spots and an extra flex spot. And that last flex spot could be something like Alexander. This is how you play if you want to go the Super Poly route. And you might be wondering, how does this work post Alfred when you barely have any flex spots? So with Alfred, you could do something like this. You could also drop Small Caesar post Alfred. So you could do something like this with Alfred, and you still have like 1 flex spot. So it's doable with Alfred and without Alfred. It just depends on what you cut really and what you choose to play. Mud Dragon can act as a mini Bright Armor because Mud Dragon gives your monsters targeting protection. And since this deck is mostly dark, you call dark and your monsters, including Gilgamesh, will get free protection from targeting effects. Now I'm gonna go over other bricks that are optional, like Defense Soldier. So Defense Soldier is pretty much there to recycle a DD Pendulum monster from your grave or extra deck to your hand. So in some cases this can act as like a better Thomas. The other effect is you target a DD in the scale and you summon it. So this can summon Queen from the scale when it gets stuck, but you already have ways to like get it off the scale. You have Kepler to bounce it, you have Scale to bounce it. So you don't really need a card like Defense Soldier, but some people choose to play this. I personally don't like to run this card. I tried it before. It's not the worst. I don't really want to enjoy it, so I choose to not play it. Thomas is more liked in the OCG than in TCG, but this is also another option you could play. It's not really a horrible scale. It can help you play through Purge. But it's either that you choose to play Ragnarok or Thomas. You can't play both. When it comes to Vice Requiem, there are niche uses for this card. This card has OTK lines under Shifter that I'm gonna go over when I showcase the combos later on. This card can also trigger Queen to summon, because what you would do is that you pop a Dark Construct, this is gonna summon, and then Queen is gonna summon and then pop a card on the field. Vice, when you use it as material for any summon of a DD monster, that monster gains an additional pop effect. So you get 2 pops, you also get 2 level 8s, so you can go into Kali Yuga or Dark Arma. I'm gonna talk about flex spots, some consistency cards before I move on to the combo section. The flex spots that you could play are Big Genghis, Bright Arma, Big Alexander, a second Clovis, Zeus, Typhon, Dark Arma. So, Dark Arma is mainly used for Mitsu and Luna Lights, because this can protect you from Liger and Murakumo pop. Now, I personally don't like this card because it requires 2 level 8 triple D monsters in comparison to a card like Kali, which says 2 level 8 DD monsters. So like you have a way better card that's easier to summon that you could play as a board breaker and actually does come up because it's actually easy to summon. And Dark Arma can only protect pens, so it does not even protect the entire board. This card should be good, but they made it bad on purpose, and I never really liked this card. So if you are gonna play a rank 8, I would recommend playing Kali over this, because Kali is actually a good card and it's easy to summon. Zeus and Typhon are always 2 cards that you can play in DD. In fact, pre-support Zeus used to be mandatory, and Zeus can still come up. So it's not actually a bad card to have. Second Clovis is not really needed anymore. It was an idea pre-Alfred, because the idea was that you use the first copy for your first turn combo and the second copy for the grind game. But with Alfred, you don't even need the second copy, because you can make the entire board without going through Clovis on your turn 1. So you can actually save Clovis for turn 3 with Alfred. Bright Arma is used for the targeting protection, and Big Genghis is something that I've been personally testing lately. It doesn't come up as often as it used to be because you don't play Swirl Slime anymore, but this is still a good card to summon into backward decks, and it's also a good extender still, but it just doesn't come up as it used to be anymore. So honestly, like in comparison to the other flex spots, it's probably the worst one, but you know, it's still an option to play. You can summon it with Alfred because it is a high level DD monster, so Alfred plus another material equals Big Genghis. You could also still summon it with the old classic way of banishing Necro Slime with another DD monster that's high level, but you know, you probably should not play it. I did not mention Small Caesar as a flex spot because I don't consider this to be a flex spot. I feel like this is a card that you should either play or not. And the reason why I mention this is because I've been noticing recently in OCG, some lists have started to cut Small Caesar from the extra deck. And the reason for that is because they also cut Eternal from the main deck, or Witch if they play that. And why are these cards tied to each other? Well, when you do your combo, in fact, every 1-card combo can do this. But when you do your combo, at the end, you end on a trap contract. And your way to get to those trap contracts is to send Caesar to the grave. And the reason why you do that is because it means that your end board is protected from Dark Ruler No More and Droplet. Because a trap contract plus Siegfried means that you can respond to Dark Ruler No More or Droplet if they don't send a trap. So why did they cut Small Caesar from the extra deck? Well, they are playing a headhunt now in the main, in those lists. So they chose to cut a brick from the main deck and Small Caesar from the extra deck. That way they get to play headhunt and have more space in the extra deck. The way I see it, you have like 2 routes you can go. You could either choose to make your board anti-ruler and anti-droplet, but you have to play Small Caesar, or you can opt to cut Caesar to have more space in the extra deck and play headhunt in the main. But again, I think it's too much gonna depend on how you want to build the deck. And if you've been noticing, there's a pattern in terms of post-support DD, and that's preference. You actually have a lot of freedom on what to choose and what to play, and that is a very good thing to have in a deck. If you've been watching me lately, you know that I'm a big fan of Big Alexander because this won me locals, and it also won me a crucial game the week before against Memento. So there's 3 reasons why you would play this. It's generic to make like Clovis, so it's easy to make them Bright Arma because Bright Arma says you need a DD tuner and a triple D non-tuner, but this is generic. This is a Contact C out, and Contact C is a good counter to this deck. So if they do give you that, you can synchro summon Alexander using Contact C and Orthros. The second reason is that it's an extender, and that effect actually comes up in the grind game, and extension is always good in this deck. So if you are gonna play a level 10 synchro, you should probably be on this. And it can become 6k, and there are times where Arc Crisis cannot be rover things, believe it or not. Yes, Arc Crisis is like 4k, and yes, you can boost it, but it's not gonna be as big as High Alexander, so there are times where you actually do need a 6k beater and it actually does come up. So if you are gonna play a level 10 synchro, you should probably be on High Alexander in my opinion over Bright Armor. Bright Armor is still a good card, but I feel like, or at least from my testing, Alexander just comes up more and it's the better card in my opinion. Now, lastly is consistency cards. So Throne is not as important as it used to be, so it's only played as like a 1 of or 2 of max now. There are people who still, use 3, but I don't think that's a good idea. This also applies to Dark Mastery Spirit. Both of these can be played at 3 for more starters, but I don't think you would need more than 11 starters max in my opinion, so I think the highest you should play these is like 2 copies. But I've been personally testing 1 Dark Mastery and 1 Throne to play like 11 starters, and it has been working fine for me. But in most cases, people either choose one of these to play, so it's either that you choose Dark Mastery or Throne as your extra starter, and there are benefits to either card. So technically Dark Mastery is a neg 1 because you do need to discard. This can also add back from the grave, so they can build this, so keep that in mind. You discard and you add a level 8 Fiend. So you could add Queen, which is the 1 card combo, which is why people are playing this card. You could also add Ragnarok or Count to hand, but you're mostly going to be adding Queen to hand because this is the card that you want to search. Now, when it comes to Throne, it adds you Kepler, and you don't need to discard, but it plays worse into Droll. And you don't really care about Droll post support because you can combo under it, but if your hand is weak, then you will still lose to Droll, so you need to respect it to some extent still. It's not really the end of the world if you get Drolled after you add Kepler, because if you have an extender, you can still do combo and play under it, but just know that Throne does play into Droll. On the other hand, Dark Mastery Spirit plays better into Droll because it adds you the 1 card combo, and this plays well into Droll because this places the Zero King contract directly from the deck face up, so you can still combo under the Droll. So 1 card is better into Droll, which is Dark Mastery, and the other is worse into Droll, which is Nightmare Throne. But in my opinion, the better card between these two is Nightmare Throne, because at least Nightmare Throne is not a neg 1. And yes, you do play worse into Droll, but I feel like in terms of like card quality, if you're gonna compare both of these, I feel like Nightmare Throne is way higher in terms of card quality. So again, I play both, but if I had to choose to play only one, I would go with Throne. But that's just me. Again, you have a lot of freedom to choose what you want to do with both support, so it's really up to how you want to go about building the deck, as I've said before. The rest of the deck is consistency cards and non-engine. So the bare minimum non-engine that you could play in DD in 40 are 15 hand traps. You could play more if you got a bit of your extenders, but 15 is enough in my opinion and should do fine. Go in second. Before I start showcasing combos, I want to showcase a OTK line under Shifter, and for this to work, you'd need to play Vice King Requiem, and there are different variations on how you pull off this OTK line, but the point of this line is when you go second, you skip your opponent's turn using Shifter, and then on your turn, in a open board state, you just go for an OTK. So this is 88k on board in an open board. Now, if we do Kepler plus an extender like Scale, you could do much more. In this variation, we are gonna make use of the Banish effect of Solomon, and also the effect of Vice Requiem, which is gonna be used as material for Mechanics. That way Mechanics can get an additional pop effect. So we're gonna burn the opponent for 1k with Tel, and then we're gonna summon Mechanics using Vice Requiem. When we use Tel, we're gonna detach Solomon so it gets banished. Solomon's gonna use the effect on Queen, and then we have the option to pop a monster on the board with Mechanics. So it's actually gonna be gamed through them having a monster. You could also do this with Cope plus Scale or Cope plus Gryphon. And in this variation, we're gonna make use of the Bend effect of Gryphon to boost Mechanics. If this is going into an open board, you could go battle phase and then attack with Tel. And post attacking with Tel, you use Tel to target itself to burn for an additional 1k. But if your opponent has a monster, you could just use Tel on your opponent's monster. This could also be done with Kepler plus Queen. In this variation, we are gonna make use of the monster effect of Abyss King Ragnarok. So essentially, you're gonna have 2 removal effects. One is gonna be the effect to pop a monster with Vice Requiem through Mechanics, and the other one is gonna be with Abyss King Ragnarok. So what you're gonna do is pop with Mechanics, using the Vice King effect, and then you can banish a monster using Abyss King Ragnarok's effect by tributing Gilgamesh. You could also do this with Count plus a discard. This line of play, I would say, is more suited for TCG than MD, because in TCG you could side the Shifter and Vice, although you could still pull this off in MD if you main Shifter and Vice Requiem, but this is more so a strat proposed siding in paper, and I just wanted to showcase that this deck actually does have an OTK line under Shifter. I'll be showcasing these combos by making a version for Alfred and before Alfred, because I don't know if the pack is gonna include Alfred. So this is gonna be the Kepler 1-card combo, and we're gonna end on the full board with Eternal Darkness and Headhunt. Now you don't need to end on both Eternal and Headhunt to have the full board. You don't even need to end on one of them to have the full board, but you are expected to end on one of them and also play one of them. So a card like Eternal Darkness is format dependent, so it's not always going to be played in the deck. Headhunt, on the other hand, is a good card against pretty much any deck, because it's your monster negate and a snatch steal in one card. It's a very powerful interaction. In my opinion, I think Eternal is gonna be good in the upcoming format for MD, because it's gonna solo two of the top decks, and those are Yami and Ryzel. Eternal is an auto win against those two decks, because Eternal stops Yami from using any material they have to synchro summon, and also stops Ryzel from using any material they have to Xyz summon. I would not advise playing both Eternal and Headhunt in the same deck, because both of them are bricks you don't want to draw, but you should play one of them. And again, as I said in the deck core, it's up to you on if you want to play Eternal or Headhunt, and it's gonna depend on your deck building really. This is gonna be the same combo but with Alfred. Well, the difference in how you sequence with Alfred is that Alfred is gonna let you end on the full board more consistently with less steps. So Alfred is there to make it so that you play more conservatively and you don't use all your pieces. You could save Clovis for turn 3 as an example, but there are ups and downs to this, because if you use Alfred as material for Caesar, that means that you don't get banished on your opponent's turn, and Alfred won't reset your contracts that are in the grave or banished for more ammo for mechanics, which is not the end of the world, because you're making a choice at the end of the day. So you are either going for more contracts, or you're gonna end on the already existing contracts on the field, which is enough in most cases for mechanics. You're gonna have follow-up even if you go Clovis, but if you save Clovis, you're gonna have more follow-up on turn 3. So Alfred provides you the option to not go Clovis, but still go Siegfried. It's really up to how you want to sequence. I personally like to set up the whole Zeus and Alfred banish on the opponent's turn interaction, although I do waste a Clovis on turn 1, but there are times where I do go for the conservative play and just skip on Clovis. Opening Kepler and Gryphon means that you're always gonna have a contract in the grave without the need of Lance Soldier. So Zeus is gonna be live before the 5th summon. You only pen summon Gryphon here, and on the 5th summon you summon a live Zeus because we sent Gate with Gryphon. This can also work as a line to protect Zero King contract from getting ashed. Here Queen is gonna get bounced, and then we're gonna activate it to use the effect. We place Gate here to search Ragnarok so we can complete our scale, and later down the combo we're gonna be adding the Zero King contract and resolving it. And through all of this I still get my access to 2 level 4s, so I can go into Solomon so I can access Zero King contract. So you don't even need to initially search Gate to get to your 2 level 4s. This line also puts Queen face up in your extra deck, so you do get that extra layer or extra interruption to your board. You may have noticed that in most of my lines I don't put Queen in the extra deck. That's mostly due to the fact that I don't really focus too much on getting it to the extra deck, because I feel like you don't need that in most times, and it's not really a mandatory thing to end on, in my opinion. And if you can manage to end on Gilgamesh, it's actually a benefit, because if they out your board, Gilgamesh is gonna float into something, so you get a lot of revival. It's very important that you always have clear scales, because when your opponent ashes Zero King contract, which is the correct ash, it can be very deadly if you play into it hard. So in this line, I'm gonna showcase to you how to still combo even through playing into ash. This is not the quote-unquote correct line, but this is a way to fix your combo even through misplaying and playing into ash. This choke point can be played around in different ways, and this is one of them. The best way to handle an ash on Zero King contract is to just go Kepler and then summon an extender, then go Gilgamesh and get to a point where you summon Zeus before you activate the Zero King contract, so that way you can negate the Ash. There are times where your hand is gonna be good, so you could just force the Ash by just placing Queen, and then all you have to do at that point is bounce Queen back to hand, and there are multiple ways to do this. Kepler can bounce it back, Scale can bounce it back. In most cases, the Zero King contract gets ashed, but you have a way to extend and also bounce Queen back to hand, then you should still full combo through eating Ash on the choke point. And the new choke point is not as bad to deal with as Imperm or Gilgamesh pre-support. This is gonna be an example of gate 1 card combo without Alfred, but it does not use Ragnarok or Orthros, because some people still don't like to play those, or at least one of them. One thing to keep in mind about this deck is that there's a lot of ways to sequence, there's a lot of ways you could combo, and some lines are more correct than others, but Alfred pretty much makes it so that you are gonna end on something regardless, even if you do misplay a bit. So he's pretty much there to help you save on your Clovis and to making health boards and the full board more consistent. The card is just broken, and I would hope that they release it in the pack. But if they don't release it, it's not really the end of the world. It's not like Alfred makes this deck tier 1 or anything, but it would be nice to have because he does make things easy. So this is going to be an example on how to do the Queen 1 card combo under Droll. And you could do this with Gate. You can't really do this with Kepler because Kepler plays bad into Droll, but it's doable with Gate and with Queen. It is doable with Kepler if you have an extender already in hand, but Kepler is the worst into Droll between the 3 cards. And this is an example on how to end on a health board through Droll. And as you can see, I don't have a contract on the field, but I'm still gonna end on a live Machinax. One thing to keep in mind about Alfred is that if you end on a Machinax that's not live, with no materials or no contract, what you could do is that at the end of your combo, you could end with Alfred being in the grave, and on the opponent's turn, you could use Zeus to negate something, and you banish Alfred any contract, and then Alfred is gonna reset all your contracts face up, so Machinax becomes a live card. This is gonna be an anti-Kanan line with Queen, so we are gonna play specifically under Izuna here, because Kanan actually counters this deck quite hard, because a lot of the extenders activate from hand, and you have a lot of graveyard effects like Necro Slime and Land Soldier. So the way to play under Izuna is by getting to a live Zeus, and by the time you reach Zeus and make it live, they still cannot activate Izuna, because you still didn't activate anything in the grave or hand. So at that point, Zeus is live, so you can start activating your graveyard effects like Necro Slime and Land Soldier. Another thing to keep in mind is that Eternal Darkness solos Kanan because they cannot exceed some. So in the future, when they drop Kanan in MD, Eternal is gonna be relevant again. So as I've said before, Eternal is a format dependent card, and if Kanan becomes the top dog in MD when it comes out, then Eternal would be a good card or a good meta call to play in the deck. Before I conclude, I just want to go over some lists that have topped recently. So this is an example of a TCG list that is running Defense Soldier, which is not something that you see every day. So that is the player's choice to run the card. Again, DD lists are always going to be different in terms of what they choose to run in the side, their tech choices like Defense Soldier, and their personal choices of not playing Impulse and maining Super Poly. If you want to see Defense Soldier combos, then you should check the original guide when the support dropped, and you should also check the post-Alfred guide because I do more combos about other flex spots like Bright Armor in those videos. This is an OCG sample that won locals, and this is also on defense soldier. And this is post banlist. They are playing 2 impulse and 2 ash. So this is a recent dub, and they're also playing eternal in the guide. But they are still playing small Caesar in the main because they are still playing a dark construct in the main. So again, like I mentioned before, if you are gonna play a dark construct trap in the main, then you should still be on small Caesar even post Alfred, because there's people that will tell you that you don't need small Caesar post Alfred, but if you are playing a trap construct, then you will need small Caesar to search them. This is a sample list for MD post the pack, but remember, I am gonna build this deck live on Twitch. If I do stream, I will post it and you'll know about it. So I will be building this deck live on Twitch, but this is gonna be a sample list and I might run with this or I might not. So this is pretty much like something that I built just, to make a sample, but the real build is probably gonna be built on stream. And I'm also, gonna obviously change things as I climb. You gotta test, it's a new meta, new decks. I would need to play, and I still did not play the new season yet, so I would need to play this season to test the waters for me to actually get the build that I'm comfortable with. But that is gonna be it for me. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys later.